Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to Sunlesskhan, how one Rocket League pro made an entire community hate him. Of course, he's talking about comms. Look at him. He's right there. This is Sunlesskhan video. I saw his sub count. He's at 2 million. Good for him, dude. I love Sunlesskhan. So yeah, let's get to it.
He's one of the most polarizing pros in this era of Rocket League. His haters, of which there are many, call him disrespectful, immature, lacking in skill, low IQ, pretty much any negative trait you can think of. He's been called it in the last year. On the other hand, his admirers and fans would call him a god and a savage, capable of inflicting mass emotional damage to fans around the world.
I guess I'm in the middle.
He's enjoyed a decent amount of success in RLCS this year, even achieving a Rocket League world record. Yet at the same time, he's managed to drum up a staggering amount of hate from the community. So what did he do to garner so much hate? In a game as competitive and serious as toy car soccer, he must have done something pretty terrible to get the wholesome and fun-loving Rocket League community in a raging tizzy.
I don't care who thinks I'm good or if I am good.
He did two things, actually, and one of them has to do with that world record I mentioned. This is the story of how a guy named Comm became the most hated pro in Rocket League history.
Why would you hate Comm? He's awesome.
By far. Version 1 entered Rocket League in August of 2020 with a roster of AXB, Gimmick, and Torment. Gimmick and Torment were fresh off the old C9 roster with Squishy, who had just left to NRG. 2020 was a tough year for the new org, and they pretty much sucked. And to be honest, they kind of sucked in 2021 too. But in January of 2022, they made a change that would propel the team to the top of North American Rocket League. Gimmick was replaced by Beast Mode, who would then go on to become one of the top 5 players in the world. With the new roster of Beast Mode, Torment, and Comm, the team immediately started getting better results, even winning an RLCS regional.
You know what I mean?
But to stay on top in Rocket League, you have to constantly adapt and evolve your approach. Not just your playstyle, but also your mentality. And so next spring, a new approach from V1 manifested itself in ways that made enemies for Comm. A lot of enemies.
You gotta love the whole crowd booing him. And he not
Version 1 qualified for the Spring Split Major in London as the 3rd seed from North America. The format for this major was absolutely insane. A massive 16-team double elimination bracket spanning 5 days. The first part taking place in a closed studio environment. No crowd until the last 2 days of the event. Version 1's first matchup of the tournament was against Endpoint, which in hindsight definitely influenced how easily Comm was able to make everyone hate him. Endpoint's roster had seen a decent amount of success up to this point, winning multiple RLCS regionals and even representing EU as the #1 seed in the fall major. The team was popular and well-liked, with young stars Archie, Relating Wave, and the beloved Metsonaris. One of the best moments in Metsonaris' career was in RLCS Season 5 in 2018 at the Copperbox Arena in London, when the crowd stopped his onstage interview to show him some love. Now jump forward almost exactly 4 years, and we're back at the Copperbox Arena for this 2022 Spring Major. Metsonaris is fighting for a chance to get through the bracket to day 3 so he could reappear on the stage in front of his adoring London fans once again. Fans attending the Major in a few days were no doubt rooting for Endpoint to win and make it to the crowd days, reuniting with a legend. That was all ruined by Comm.
His own career with his 2 teammates, as well as that's going to be to the back.
Actually, all of Version 1. Beast Mode by this point had firmly established himself as an elite superstar, and Torment complemented the younger players perfectly, as V1 was cruising through this series. But while Beast Mode and Torment simply played the game, Comm took it a little further. On the broadcast, you can see Comm yelling after goals, but you can't really make out super clearly what he's saying. However, on Rizzo's Watch Party stream, it came through a little clearer. Trash talking in competitive Rocket League is not at all a new thing. For years, players have taken jabs at each other here and there, and usually it was pretty funny. The most egregious thing at a LAN that I can think of is Reddles jumping up on the table at DreamHack when they beat G2. And that was funny, but recently the intensity has flared up a bit, spawning controversy amongst the community. Back in the fall major in Sweden, players had begun to yell at each other across their gaming desks.
Yes.
Sometimes they would just yell really loud when they scored, and sometimes they would make R2-D2 noises. Some pros thought the yelling was fine, and some did not. Well, fast forward to present day, and we have Comm screaming at Endpoint, telling them that they suck, and asking Relating Wave, "What are you doing?" This was
That's
a new
really
level of trash
disrespectful,
talk.
but
to
I'm
the
all
community
for
whose
it.
most controversial figure is a pro who stood on a desk once.
That's toxic.
Oh, that is toxic.
A lot of people argued this was pretty normal in-game trash talk, and others called it bullying and verbal abuse.
It's even normal in
European fans
sports.
in particular did
Basketball,
not
they
take the
trash talk each
disrespect
other.
well.
They trash talk
And
each other.
Psyonix wasn't thrilled about the
Trash
cursing so
talk,
loudly on
Jesus.
stream either.
Be loud and not curse. I'll be quiet and curse. Alright. I'll be loud.
Not a sure
Yeah.
chance, and off the kickoff. Definitely a great chance, and it's going to be Comm to drive it home again.
I'm an
What
older
are you
dude,
doing,
35 years
bro?
old. Comm for me is coming across as childishly immature and extremely off-putting. In the vernacular of the day, it is cringe behavior. This is exactly why more people should be doing what Comm is doing. If he can make a 35-year-old dude write an essay on him, imagine how his opponents feel.
Yes,
Pointing at him.
exactly.
That's tough as well. Instantly stood up. He's sitting there like, where's the defense? What are they doing? Why did nobody do anything? And Beast Mode's going to close it out in 3. Endpoint can't even muster
And
one.
Comm is not only a good
Cruised
trash
through the
talker,
bracket,
he's a
beating
good
the eventual
player.
tournament champions Moist to make it to the first crowd day of the
Moist.
major. And when that day did come, the reception for Comm was not a warm one.
Got a lot on the pitch. Beast mode. At 1.43 goals per game in the two.
How would Comm and the rest of the V1 roster react to an entire arena full of fans booing them and cheering for their opponent, Carmine Corp? An org from a huge
Carmine Corp
EU
is really
content
good. I
creator.
do know Carmine Corp.
Lob high into the midfield. Comm.
Well, it turns out they didn't really care.
Boost to play. Beast mode. Double tap. And he opens the score sheet for Virgin 1.
This turned out to be an epic series that came down to the wire. And listen to the differences in the crowd as momentum swung back and forth between these two teams.
That's a nice bounce back to the middle. And Itachi will slot it. Carmine Corp take game 2 in overtime.
Oh,
Is there anyone
fake.
back? It
No.
looks like a foot
Wait a
race.
minute.
No,
What?
another wide open goal. But this time it's going to be one.
Big collapse for V1. Astral and Itachi both
I became
got
a
the
fan of
same
V1
ball, and that's
With a version
Actually,
1 victory in
because of
Game
Comm
6, the series
and
was
Beast
headed to
Mode.
Game 7, where we find both teams locked 2-2 with 10 seconds remaining.
Left. Version 1 trying to get out. Astral being harassed. Clear out. Nolly decides to keep the play open. Beast mode towards net. Beast mode! What? A thriller at the copper box. Beast mode in 0 seconds. What?
Oh, a stunner.
Oh,
he can't. What? Comm says, come on, where you at? Where's the defense? Where did
The
they
version
go?
1
Oh,
was a team I didn't know anything about,
boy, as he turned
and then all of
into
a sudden I
villain
got
here at the
really
copper
interested in
box.
them. And in the lineup.
And they let him have it, but it's version 1 on top in
Beast
game
mode
7.
Comm, listen, you clearly have a lot of fans in the building. What do you got to say to them?
I mean, honestly, I could barely hear it when I was on there. I don't think they're quite loud enough.
Yes. How's that
Comm
not
had
fun?
solidified himself as a massive villain for a growing number of people.
Yes, yes.
As for the booze, well, it actually seemed to feed Comm. But then V1 came up against the Falcons. They fell to the lower bracket, and then were revenge swept by the eventual champions, Moist Esports.
Back when they had Batera, and they were really close.
The crowd felt that their villain had come to justice, and the hate for Comm seemed to die down for a little bit.
You
But it
need a
didn't last
villain
long,
like
as
him.
Comm's next move enraged an even more volatile group of fans. The booing, Reddit threads, and death threats would seem like nothing compared to the monolith that Comm faced next.
He doesn't care, bro.
Fast forward 4 months and we find ourselves at the NA Fall Cup. This was pretty recent, just a month ago. The inevitable clash between version 1 and NRG was almost too perfect. A mix of old teammates and Squishy versus Torment, plus some polarizing approaches to the game itself. NRG represents the old elite, 3 of the most legendary players in the game, at a tumultuous time in their careers with regressing results and growing frustrations, while Comm and version 1 represented a younger, more aggressive style, loud and in your face compared to the reserved and composed NRG squad. In fact, Squishy himself was one of the pros that spoke out against the onstage trash talk before it got to the point where it is now.
Whatever,
And that wasn't the
Squishy.
only issue NRG have had with Comm.
Squishy's so
Comm has
boring.
tweeted multiple times in the past about certain teams not taking scrimmages seriously, and the Rocket League community ran with the rumor that it was NRG trolling scrims. This isn't really fair to NRG since it's just a rumor that was never confirmed
Yeah,
or
but they don't
denied,
like to get
other than
demoed.
Justin saying it wasn't NRG this time in Comm's second tweet. Now, the reason this is relevant is because the entire rumor revolved around the idea that NRG would get tilted or upset from demos.
So
True or
do a lot
not,
of
theory
people,
does
actually.
add some context to what you're about to witness. Because what Comm did to NRG on the field that day was pure, unprecedented demolition madness.
Bro, yeah, he
In
did
one of the
plenty
most
demos.
insane RLCS matches ever, Comm racked up demos at a rate that no one had ever seen before. I can't really describe how frustrating this has to be for NRG,
No,
who
it is
after a
super
couple
frustrating.
splits of poor
It
results
really
are
is.
desperate to
But
regain,
it's also
and
a
have
tactic
finally
in the
made it
game.
back to the semifinals of an event, only to run into an absolute maniac who is literally spawn killing their entire team non-stop, and it's working.
Exactly. If it works,
Here in
it
Game
works.
3 is where you can really see the NRG players unraveling, and for good reason. With a late demo goal, version 1 sent the game into overtime, and that's where things got really crazy. With Comm continuing to savagely harass their team, the NRG fans in the Twitch chat went nuts. I have never seen anything like this while watching RLCS. It was absolute mayhem.
Call him in a rack,
Comm
probably.
to shoot, but Squishy to save. Comm again on the demo. That must be 10 in this game. V1 so far
people get
have
so
averaged
bothered of it.
8.5 in the series per game. I am confident that
I'm not
Comm
gonna
will
lie,
more than
they
that
bother me
on his
too.
own.
But at the same time,
Comm is demoing more
they're a
than
legit tactic.
anyone that you have seen.
Somebody's
4 minutes
really
in
good
this
at them.
overtime.
And it benefits their game.
4 minutes into demo.
They should be able to do it.
Last
And
overtime.
you should be able to adapt
trying to keep it
to how
around
they
the
play.
same.
Demo.
More demos coming out from
Demo.
Beast Mode joining the party. The version 1 half, but
Demo.
now we see him break out. Another demo from Comm. Comm, he's going to try to get Garrett on respawn.
After exactly 7 minutes, version 1 finally put NRG out of their misery and ended this monstrosity of a game. And the look on these players' faces just says it all. When the dust had settled, Comm had ended the
extra
game
special
with
if it bothers
20
Squishy,
demos, a Rocket League record. Version 1 won the next 2 games, and it was even more painful for the Twitch chat, as the player they had just called no-skilled and only good at demos scored this goal on them.
They have ended
Bro,
up
you
winning
cannot
that game.
say that Comm is only good at
At
demo.
last, the series was over. The NRG fan base was humiliated, as their heroes had fallen to a no-skill demo troll. While the European fan base had to sit there and watch one of their favorite players get told he sucks at Rocket League by a loud 19-year-old, the NRG fans had to go through something worse, getting beat by demos in RLCS. At long last, NRG and EU fans could come together in their shared hatred for a single player. Comm had brought together 2 large and distinct groups of fans by making them both really mad. He turned an otherwise pretty placid pro dynamic into something a little more interesting and fired up fans
Exactly,
to root for
makes
their
it more
favorite teams
interesting.
all the harder, even if it was against him. So whether you love him or you hate him, you have to at least give him credit for figuring out
Yes.
the fastest way to become the most hated pro in Rocket League
And
history.
how to make Rocket League more
Sunlesskhan,
entertaining, though.
thanks for watching.
Professional thing. This was awesome. It's a great video. So a quick wrap up that I want to say about Comm. If you look at other sports like basketball, dude, you thinking Kobe Bryant, you look at a lot of clips or like people sharing on social media. Kobe Bryant was a sweetheart. Kobe Bryant had a great work ethic. Dude, Kobe Bryant was an awful trash talker. All right, way worse than Comm, and he's regarded as one of the greatest players. So is Michael Jordan. So is Larry Bird. And granted, I know the Rocket League is an esport, all right, but that's what you do, all right? And it's, you trash talk. You get into your opponent's head. It sucks. Believe me, when it's happening to you, it sucks. But that's the whole point of it, that you have to endure it, that you have to overcome it, right? Because that's part of the process. It's the mental battle that you have with your opponent. And they're technically not cheating. Demoing is part of the game. Demo is included in the game. Demoing is not penalized in the game in any way. Instead, it's rewarded. So it means it's a mechanic that the game itself wants you to use. Now, like I said, it's a mechanic that it's a little bit broken, right? But if you have like a very good demoer like Comm, he can make your day a nightmare. Or Woody, right? In my opinion, I think Comm, he's like a Redos or Arsenal, but more effective, a little bit more effective, a little bit more malicious too, I would say. These are guys that are a little bit, not trolly, but they know how to rile you up. They know how to get into your head, and you can't let them. Obviously, And at the same time, as for us, the viewers, it's good to see a little bit of toxicity like that on the main stage of like RLCS. I really don't get why people get so butthurt. They write like a book online about how disappointed they are on Comm, or how it's ruining RLCS demos and all that. Bro, seriously, you're too soft. So anyway, yes, this was Sunlesskhan. One Rocket League Pro made an entire community hate him. That's gonna be it for me, so I'll see you guys later.